All right, welcome back to Let the Journey Begin. I am your host, Jason Waller, alongside my co-host, Alex Meschi. How you doing, Alex?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Golf event was pretty legit. It was a good little turnout and a fun time having some skydivers come out, do the helicopter ball drop, and 18th hole have that ball launcher. It was pretty sick.
No, it was a very memorable day between the bazooka cannon on the 18th. It was cool that we brought in almost $54,000 for the whole tournament, and in fact, we brought in about $16,000 that day. Also, pretty cool that the helicopter ball drop winner ended up just redonating their prizes, and we were able to auction off that tag watch for another $2,000. So, overall, just a memorable, magical day, and everybody had fun. For me, it was a blast playing my first round ever in my life with my dad. It was stressful as all heck. Especially trying to keep the chains moving, not keep people, held up. But he did a pretty good job, so I'm proud of him, and I know he's always proud to call me son.
For anybody that doesn't know Mr. Meschi, dude, he's an amazing guy, phenomenal doctor. But it looked like he was out there going to the rodeo, but he was out there on the golf course. He had a cowboy hat on. He almost looked like he was wearing spurs and assless chaps. It was a great time. One of the coolest guys ever.
He was in heaven with that hat and a cigar, and I got some great pictures of him. And he talked about it all week with his office staff. And just like I said, overall, a very memorable, magical day.
No, it was rad. So thanks everybody for coming out and supporting. That money is going to be going to good use. Again, we have a couple scholarships that are actually live right now. And so every donation makes an impact, and we are helping those that are less fortunate. So appreciate that. And we got another cool thing coming up. We actually partnered with the Angels, where they actually have given us 120 tickets?
115 tickets.
115 tickets. So, again, that's coming up here soon, you guys. So we'll put some stuff out on our site. And if you and your friends or, family, whoever it is, wants to come out and join us at the Big A, be against the Seattle Mariners later in June. But we'll throw that up. And again, as all your proceeds go to helping more people. So would love to see you guys out there, and thank you, Angels, for your contribution. But without further ado, I'm so stoked today because there's a gentleman that is here with us today. Actually, we have a lot of mutual friends, and we, it's funny how we ended up connecting later on down the road. But he is literally known in Orange County as the legend himself. Without further ado, I want to bring on Chad. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, boys. Grateful to be here with the crew. I'm excited to keep an open mind about today. I was feeling I'm like, you guys asked me to make my hair look good. I put a little set together for the whole thing. I know you guys have microphones. I'm on like the computer mic, so I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be a disaster but hey, I'm just trying to not be in the driver's seat these days. So Jason, it's good to see you too, man.
You as well, brother.
Chad, you're coming in loud and clear. You don't need a microphone because Jason just eats his half of the time. So I got a crazy question for you, Chad. Everybody that I've come to meet that have met Jason, there's usually some kind of story. His and mine was over a bag of cheese popcorn in preschool. What's your story with Jason?
Just like, I was in his fan club actually on Laguna Beach. So I kind of just, I've been stalking him from afar. I knew he was just like a town away. I grew up in Newport. They were down in Laguna, and, our lives, crossed at a time when probably both of us were seeking something different for ourselves. And, Jason's been great, man, and what he's been doing for the community out there. Like I heard you guys talking about the golf tournament. I was a big golfer. I played D1 golf at LMU, so I'm glad you got to get out there and play with your dad too. That sounds like an experience that you're going to remember for the rest of your life, and obviously dressing up like a cowboy on the golf course. We don't see that very often, so I'm glad it was memorable. But yeah, Jason and I, we're just out here doing the deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, Chad, and that kind of goes why I really wanted. You have such an incredible story, and I'll, after hearing about you, and multiple different conversations, I think that we finally really reconnected in a boxing gym, and he actually is very active in the community and runs his own recovery groups, and and unfortunately, I was, especially we reconnected when I was like there was stuff going on, and then we reconnected, moved to Tennessee. So timing never really happened. But we're here today, and I'm grateful for that. But Chad, I think for our listeners, give us a little backstory. Where are you from? Where you grew up? And kind of what led into your first use with substances.
Yeah, gosh, like the hairs is starting to stand up thinking of backtracking, and we don't shut the door on the past, right? And it's cool to reminisce. Like, I'm from Newport Beach, born, bred, raised at the beach, and from an early age, like I was really into sports and athletics, and I kind of went. It's kind of weird. Like, I grew up on a country club, but I thrived out in the beach scene. And at the time growing up, I'm born in 79, so 42 now. And surfers really weren't looked upon as like the greatest role models out there at that time. It's kind of like the beach bums smoking weed down at the beach. And to be honest, like, that's really what I fell into. Pretty cliche, but that was us back then. And was sponsored at an early age by Volcom. We thrived off of, we were awarded and patted on the back by, partying hard and still going out there and just kind of performing. Like, that's what they wanted from us. And probably didn't have the best guidance from the people I looked up to in that community. But I had a great time growing up, and, great family. Probably one of those families that put a lot of pressure on performance and being the best at. And fortunately, I didn't give up all traditional sports. I know you were a baseball player, so I was a big baseball player and burned out in baseball at like 13. And I stuck with golf and ended up getting a scholarship to LMU and played on the golf team up there. And we weren't supposed to join any fraternities or do any outside stuff. And I fell right into that mode and did everything in secret. And that's really where the Band-Aid was ripped off. And even after a year of college, I got recruited back to OCC. So I had to kind of learn, like, hey, you have something here, don't throw it away. And I was just in full swing of my addiction. And I don't really... The consequences were there, but I just continued to walk through and show up to things. I was always somebody that was really good at showing up and putting a show on. And I think I had a strong ego, someone that did not want to look bad. And those secrets and the ego, it just didn't suit me. But it took me a long time to kind of figure that out. First stint into recovery was, at about 23, when she broke up with me after about a 6-year relationship of a Bonnie and Clyde kind of, there was some ups and downs there for sure. And I felt lost, and, I ended up just kind of knowing the right person who directed me to, what led to be that first spiritual experience, right? That I knew I had that spiritual malady, and I found that out. But since then, it's been a constant in and out game of ping pong. And I sit here today in front of you guys with over 2 years of sobriety, probably in the best headspace of my life. I've got 2 young girls, and I'm truly blessed. And I don't want to have to go back to Orange Coast College, so to speak. I'm happy with where I'm at with my life today. But that doesn't mean I rest on my laurels. I got to continue to do what I do on a daily basis to stay in the right headspace. And yeah, Jason, you got to me before I got to you, whether it was going to be in the ring sparring one of those days, but like, I had you teed up a couple times to try to speak on my meeting. And here we are today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You moved to Tennessee, and you moved to Tennessee or wherever we go, like, our addiction, it stays with us, So, hopefully I'm not going to be going anywhere anytime soon regarding like geo locations. I am in California here, still living in Costa Mesa, but
Somebody's got to hold the fort down over there, man. And again, I really appreciate that. And there's so much to unpack here with your story and your history. But I think just to give a little bit more context to the story too is you had a lot. It sounds like you had an amazing childhood growing up. You had, a lot of stuff going for you. Very athletic, very talented. You have a very good personality. Kind of everything mapped out for you. But so before you went to college, though, I mean, did you start experimenting with drugs and alcohol before you went into college and kind of started to go live that life? Or were you kind of more away from that? I mean, because I know you said you smoked a little bit of weed when you got into the surf industry. So can you kind of give our listeners a little bit of an overview of that? I don't want to focus so much on the backstory, but it helps us project for the good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was raised the DARE kids at school, dare to keep kids off drugs. Like, we did not want to even go that direction. And probably it was right about 15, 16 years old was when I took my first hit. Actually, I drank first and something magical happened, dude. There was some anger that I've been carrying my whole entire life. And I got the relief from the drink. And I found out quickly that drinking probably wasn't my best friend because I started driving and I like to be the guy driving all my friends around. And, taking bong hits just was the magic elixir. And I just continued partying from then out. I mean, I had a healthy problem going into college.
No, fair enough. And so doing and being at where you're at now with 2 years of sobriety, are you able to take a look back again for people that are in this, right? There's a lot of people that listen to our show that are unfortunately not in recovery, but can you see and identify what that anger was now and that your younger adolescent self that led you to finding that relief from alcohol?
It's tough. Cause we're our own self-diagnosis here. We play the doctor role, so to speak, only to thy own self be true. You're the only one that's going to be able to really put that diagnosis that I'm an alcoholic or an addict. But all I know is that I can't identify some real trauma that I suffered as a child or whatever that dynamic between me and mom or dad or that struggle that I was going through in the house. But I don't know, there was just something that was rampant within me that was this great discomfort. And all I can say today with where I'm at is that was untreated alcoholism from the gate. That's just the way I choose to look at my addiction. I've been born with this. And that was my relief until it stopped working. And I can tell you where I ended up, and it's not a pretty place, but
I think it's really important for people to understand that, because for me, after doing a deep dive, is I can see I struggled with alcohol and drugs way before I ever picked up an alcohol or drugs. At 13, 14 years old, I had this, not only did I have OCD, but I, had insecurities, depression, anxiety, all these different things I didn't know how to divulge or express. And again, is all those things now that I'm able to see that I was going through, alcohol alleviated a lot of those symptoms that were coming up. At first it was alcohol, and then it dominoes into marijuana, cocaine, whatever it may be. And again, I think it's getting to that starting point. And again, I love what you said is, it's because I didn't have any traumas either. That's the thing. If anything, I grew up with a very fortunate life with great parents. And, there's little things that would happen here and there, but it was never I was never had some traumatic event where I was beaten, I was raped, I was molested. I didn't have anything that would be classified as this big traumatic event that really set me off the deep end. It was a lot of my own internal issues that I struggled with. And I think, again, I think everybody's pre-genetically disposed to addiction to some way, shape, or form, and some of us just have a deeper rooted, seated addiction that can be there. And again, is for some people, whether it's alcohol or drugs, it could be work, it could be working out, it could be relationships, it could be gambling, it could be sex, and so it's to each his own. But I think it's just creating conversation around that. And so, fast forwarding though, so as you get through that process, you got this career as, from surfing, you were sponsored. One of the most, iconic sponsors that you could get down at that age point. And so what happened to surfing, and then what transitioned, and were you surfing and then playing golf as well, or kind of walk us through what happened there?
Yeah, going to college, surfing got put on the back burner totally. Living up in LA, I was just a car drive away from, downtown and Hollywood. And I was just living that college lifestyle at LMU. And yeah, so I just was over surfing. Golf was, a true passion of mine as well. And at that point, like I wasn't going to be a pro surfer anyway. So I was kind of like going in the direction of like creating a career for myself. Graduated with a TV and film degree, and upon graduating, started making surf videos with my buddy Logan Doolian, aka Chucky, who's still making Snap movies till this day. He just finished up Snap 4, an amazing surf video. If you guys have ever checked it out, like you can see it all getting posted online. But after making our first movie, I landed a role on Fox Sports 54321 as an announcer, dude. And I just thought, like, snowball effect. Like all my dreams were coming true at like 22 years old. And honestly, like I just thought it was like sky's the limit from there. But I didn't know I was carrying around this addiction the whole time that was really not suiting me.
Was it the addiction that kind of took those dreams from you? I know you mentioned you had a breakup with she, but what was kind of the tipping point that took these things out of your grasp?
Yeah, I mean, I truly believe like my addiction that was being fueled through like all ego and being that age and having that attention placed on you and being in the spotlight after the best damn sports show on Fox Sports. Like I thought I was hot, you know what I mean? Like I was living the life, and I ended up saying some things to the wrong people up there, and it didn't go over well, partly because I was they told us that they would never turn our show into Jackass. That was kind of a popular movement happening at that time. And we wanted to keep these sports, action sports. And next thing I know, Wee Man was hired on the show, and it seemed to be going in a different direction. So I let them know. As I did, I stuck my foot in my mouth, and it just sidelined me. And then I got sacked and I was gone,
So look, with all that stuff that you're going through, again, is when we're active in our addiction, as much as we think we have things in control, we don't. So let's fast forward a little bit though. So then, you move past all this. Where's kind of the bottom point of the addiction before you have your moment of clarity?
I don't think it was like any real aha moment. Like it wasn't crashing the car, which I've done, it wasn't like, it was just this like spiritually bankrupt feeling that I had inside where I was just not stoked on life. And it wasn't to the point where I was going to, take myself out. It's spiritually bankrupt. I just felt like I needed something different in my life, like it was a combination of things that had led me to that point. And I finally gave in to ask for some help with someone that I trusted. That's the hardest thing for us to do, is just surrender. Like waving the white flag and surrendering. You're not losing the war. You're going to the winning side. But I never knew that,
Was there something that triggered that? I know you said there wasn't this aha moment though, but I mean, minus that spiritual experience, I mean, was there just what led to that spiritual bankruptcy, I think is more of an appropriate question.
Yeah. I mean, like getting fired from the dream job, the girl breaking up with me, probably living back at my parents' house at that point in time, still like running the hustle on the side with the things that I was like a distributor doing. And I was really good at that. But like, there was just like, the whole entire psyche was just shot at that point. Like I just could not do it. My life was unmanageable.
That's exactly that's what I was looking for.
That anger that I had grown up with this whole time, it was just coming out at times where I was losing control.
So based on the anger and everything, what was the best tool that you picked up to help relieve that? I mean, I'm going on a limb here, but I played Division I baseball at UC Irvine, so I know the competitive nature there. You were sponsored by Volcom, so all eyes on. To me, it sounded like you had a lot of pressure, whether that was internally or externally. But I'm going to assume that you're a competitive guy, and that competition and always being competitive it wears you out. So were you able to kind of put that in check now to help you maintain your sobriety, or what do you do to kind of mitigate or moderate that?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to pull the ping pong paddles out, we can go battle still. I mean, I do have a competitive gene that my mom's the best woman amateur golfer basically in the state of California or in the USA. So being raised with a mom that could beat you on the golf course, we're very competitive by nature. But today it's just realizing, like, you know what? I don't need to be the best at anything. Like, really what I place something that I value in is I really just want to be the best father I can be today. I want to be the best husband I can be. I want to be of service to somebody else other than myself. So like a lot of this I think stems from like not being able to identify all these defects of character that are running rampant inside of me. And then to top that off, like having an ego that wants to run the show, and getting right sized and being sober is like, that's where it's at for me. And it's through like this spiritual connection that like I have practiced and been on this journey and diving deeper and deeper down that rabbit hole where I'm like feeling connected to something else where I don't have to be the one in control anymore.
Yeah, kudos to you. I mean, it sounds to me like you took inventory and weighed the priorities that actually matter, and you're still choosing to be competitive in those priorities that matter, like being a good dad and, you know, being around for your family and supportive to those around you. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I know when I go and surf in a contest like I did this weekend, like I'm not going to come away with a W. Like I got Joe Alani and Chad LeBass, and like I got fourth place. Like at least I made the final. Like I'm happy with that, and I got to announce the contest down in Newport, and just be connected to my community down here, but in my true authentic self. Like that's what that ease and comfort that comes from being sober and not feeling like you're at odds with yourself or have that wall or that just stuffing everything down. Like I feel free, like that head to the heart connection that we're really out there seeking. For me, that's important. I want to look people in the eyes, not be all bloodshot out and staring right through them with that blank stare. Like I'm connecting with people on a different level these days, and people see it. If you're out there and you're loaded and you're running amok for your life, like people also see that. As much as you think you might be like putting up a good front, there's people that love you that know.
100%. I mean, what I'm taking away from that, just that statement specifically, is like through sobriety, you got to know your true self.
100%. It's taken over 40 years to figure that out. But like, I just am so much happier with where I'm at today.
I know I tell people often, they're like, I can't believe you don't drink. I'm like, you know, what's amazing, man, is I don't have to say, God, I can't drink. It's like, I don't have to say, God, I can't drink anymore. It's like, thank God I don't have to drink anymore. You know, there's a big difference between that, being able to be relieved of that bondage, and people won't get it unless you're in it. But bringing this back to you, I mean, it's so incredible to hear where you're at mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually today, and just the groundedness in this. So when going back to when, you know, you surrendered, you put that white flag up, because to me, dude, it's all about surrender, willingness, and honesty. Walk us through those next steps of kind of what happened, because again, we're running, we people are listening right now. They're in that state where they're like, dude, I don't even want to reach out for help. I don't even know how to ask for help. Which again, that's the first step right there. So can you share with us a little bit about that real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I think for guys like you and me, like we've got relapse in our story, you know, and we've tried it our way long enough. I've tried it my way long enough, and it just continues never to work out. As soon as I get sober and I start doing the deal, like all of a sudden my life does get better. Maybe not like through the roof right off the bat. It is sobriety in a lot of ways. But the empirical evidence was already there. I mean, I'm old enough to realize like this is not going to continue to work. So again, it's like my first child's born. Like I'm still not in the right frame of mind, and some of the behaviors that were coming out with having a little baby, like I just wasn't living that. I wasn't a responsible father. Like I'd show up, I was always there, I was doing everything, but like it wasn't what I wanted for myself or for my family. And we got pregnant with the second one, and once again, I would always push it right up to the end where I'm like, okay, this is the day that I got to get sober. I mean, I can show you I've tattooed sobriety dates on my rib cage to like be like a healthy reminder. I'm not even joking. I've got like 4 different sobriety dates. Like, this is going to be the time. I'd write sticky notes on the mirror. Like, today's the day. Any sobriety date that I can look back on always starts on a Monday. I got to let the whole week go by. It's going to be Monday. It's the start to the new week. We're going to do this. And every single time I would fall back and go back to the old behavior. So this time, daughter's going to be born. Pandemic hits. It's March 9th, 2020. And I go to recovery and start to try to get sober once again. And then, what do you know? The pandemic hits. Everything to create that camaraderie that we look for to help us, because this isn't like I'm all by myself out there. Like, recovery, you're watching this podcast, like it's a we program, we do this together. You don't have to be alone out there trying to get sober. Like, reaching out and asking for help is the best thing. And the easiest way for me to do it is just to raise my hand and admit that I'm an alcoholic and an addict, and my life is unmanageable and I need some help. And once again, I did that. Day 3, all the things that I would generally go to help myself, they were all shut down. And then Zoom happened. Here we are, on a virtual, podcast, and there's all these virtual, meetings, so to speak, for me to like connect with other people in recovery. And my journey started once again on my 91st day of sobriety. I turned to the doctor and she said, "This baby's coming right now." I said, "Can I deliver this thing?" She said, "Put some gloves on because it's coming." And I delivered my daughter into the rooms of Hoag Hospital and into the rooms of, recovery, because I brought her to a meeting, as a baby. The people on these screens who I hadn't even met before, they were from all over the country, mainly LA. They got to see my little baby girl River for the first time. And I just kept doing the same things that those guys told me that they were doing and still do to this day. And I started implementing them into my life. And it really starts with getting to God before my head gets to me every single morning, making my bed, getting up. Sometimes I still sleep on the couch. Okay, go figure. Getting into action, whether it's reading, some readings, prayer and meditation. I'm big on Wim Hof. I love Wim Hof. And I pretty much religiously do that every single day. And I'm staying a white belt. I don't want to think that I got this figured out. Like, that's the last thing I want to do right now, because it's working for me.
Dude, I love that. I'm staying a white belt. I've never heard that. I like that. And it's being open, right? Just being open to each day and what comes. What would you say is one of the most profound things you've learned through this whole journey? What is, like, if you had like whether it's a word or like a sentence or a paragraph, whatever comes to your mind, but what is something that kind of like summarizes this experience for you, and what's been like the most profound thing from it?
I mean, I think like for me, there's going to be ups and downs in sobriety, but I'd way rather be up and down than in and out. I just can't afford to be the ping pong ball anymore, So just staying and taking every day, literally 24 hours in a day, like I just do today. And that's cliche. We always hear that, one day at a time. But dude, that's all I do. And I'm going to worry about tomorrow. Like, if you're thinking about drinking right now and you haven't taken a drink today, like, let's just finish off the day and let's worry about drinking tomorrow,
Yeah.
And when you're coming off of things like Oxycontin, which I had a really bad problem with pills because I broke my leg and I got prescribed. So I was already an addict. And now I get prescribed from a Dr. Death down here in Orange County, Dr. Petraglia. I think he's actually, I don't even know if he's still on this planet, but like, Oxycontin will take you to places that you never want to go to. And I don't want to get too in depth on this right here on where it took me, but it was really bad. Really bad. And it's really hard to get off of opiates. Like, it just has you by the balls in a vice grip. And that's the hardest thing to kick, man. It really, really has you. So I don't wish that on my enemies, but just stay.
No, dude, it's so crazy, and that's why I love doing this show. Is because I mean we have a lot more similarities than I even knew, from sobriety date to, from children being born. And I was actually, as a side note, I was actually on the first floor at Hogue while my daughter was being born on the fourth floor, and I had to go from the detox floor up to the fourth floor, and it's a whole nother story. But I mean, just I know yours is different than that, but just it brings back a lot of memories and stuff. And it's just truly incredible to see where you're at today, man, and just how grounded and the life that you had growing up to where it took you, and now what you're able to do. You seem a lot more at peace. You seem a lot more grounded. You seem a lot more comfortable in your own skin. And I truly can say, as cheesy as maybe sound, but you seem like you actually are proud of yourself, and that's like the beauty of this, man. There's so many times where I couldn't look myself in the mirror without just being at pure disgust. And this is going to impact a lot of people. This is going to touch a lot of people. And, for those that are out there, if you were to give like a closing statement to them, if you were to give them one action for the day, what would that be?
What I'd say to anybody that's out there struggling right now is you're not alone. You're not alone. If guys like me and Jason, if we can do this, you can do this. Trust me, I know Jason's story too. Like, you're not alone. Please pick up the phone and call somebody.
100%.
I answer every DM. People reach out to me. I put the message out there and people reach out to me. And I some of the greatest experiences, I didn't out myself to my community because I got a little following, not huge, nothing crazy like Jason over here, but like I got a little following, and I wanted to wait till I really had some significant milestone, which was a year. And on my year, I posted up a little chip, and I took that with everybody else. And I said, if anyone out there is struggling, reach out to me. I'll pick up the phone. And that's the way it's gone, and it's to be of service to somebody else and just listen to someone. That helps me more than it probably helps them, believe it or not.
That's so rad, man. If people want to find you, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, OC Insta News. That's my handle. And I think that's the other thing with this whole journey. It's like, I got sober, but my defects of character were running rampant on a pink cloud for probably my first 6 months, until I accepted a boxing match with some kid who was 22 years old. That was like a stud Harbor High School football player. And I showed up to a park to box this guy. And there was about 60 to 80, seniors to USC, freshmen. They all showed up to this park and like, Tito, do you know who's coming over here right now to take off your head? I'm like, no, just saw him on these boxes on a live. He called me out, so I accepted it. Wait till you see. He walked across the parking lot. This guy's thighs were massive, dude. He looked like Drago. I called him Drago from Rocky, and he was like 6'3", 220 pounds, and I'm like 6', 178 wet, right? And this kid, it was on, dude. He came over there to kick my butt, and he hit me a couple of times pretty hard. And when some of my friends in my community saw all this stuff going on, and this isn't conducive to long-term sobriety. So if you really want to stay sober, like, you might need to take a good look at this. So since then, I've completely pivoted with the social media, and, I've had to get right-sized again. Like, that has been like, that's the journey for me. Really living right size has been so important, but this is a journey. It's not a race. We're not going to get it right. Progress, not perfection. I'm never going to do this perfectly, but I know what direction I don't want to go back into and what makes me happy now, but it's only through experience, right?
Bro, did you get a couple in on him?
I got a couple in. The video's up on the gram, dude. Like, you can see the boxing video. It's up there.
Check it out.
It's up there.
See it.
Chad, with with you in recovery, and being the dad, and still getting out in there surfing, and in the beginning throwing some sparring matches out there professionally. I know you switched your game, and now you're into the solar space. People, can you share us a little bit about that if people want to connect with you and get hooked up solar wise?
Yeah, I work for Sunrun. We're the company in Costco and Home Depot. We're the largest residential solar company in North America. If you have any questions about helping out our environment and saving you guys a lot of money, reach out to me on Instagram, OC Instant News. I'll break it down. I'm a Sherpa when it comes to solar. We're not going to Everest. We're just going to your roof. And I love what I do. So hit me up.
Chad, thank you so much, brother. Alex, any other questions before we check out?
No, I think you gave us a lot of great tips and tools for our audience, and it's been a pleasure having you on this show and hearing about some of your crazy antics. And it sounds like we might need to do a charity boxing match between you two boys.
Oh, geez, dude. I'll throw up the white. I'm gonna be ahead of the game. White flag. Now, Chad, thank you so much, bro.
Yeah,